WNN Pompano Beach and 95.3 FM W237BD Boca Raton, the Health and Wealth Radio Network.
Staying healthy is difficult. What nutritional supplements should you take? What foods are best for you? What health practitioner should you see? You've got health questions, I've got health answers. From heartburn to hemorrhoids, pain to pimples, carpal tunnel to the common cold, gluten to gallbladder, and gingivitis, and all points in between. I'm Dr. Bob Martin. Tune into my Sunday talk show at 10 o'clock on Talk 1470 WNN.
Homeowners, would you like to save money each and every month? Of course you would. We all want to save money, but how? By calling Debbie at I Will Advisors, that's how, and have her review your homeowner's policy. Most homeowners never review their policy, but it should be reviewed every year. You commercial property owners, same goes for you. So what are you waiting for? Call Debbie at I Will Advisors and start saving money. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
Now you can get Talk 1470 WNN on 95.3 FM too. Loud and clear, Health and Wealth Radio, WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Welcome to Turk Radio, the only tag team husband and wife show on the air. Straight up conservative talk for the not-so-silent majority.
We are on the air.
We're on the air. Another week of Turk Talk Radio. It's Monday night, 6 p.m. We're here live with two very special guests. We have Ann Vandersteel from Your Voice America and Julio Gonzalez with Engineered Tax Services, who's doing a lot of work on tax reform in D.C. He's also our friend.
Karen?
I lost my mic there for a second. My mic was too far away. I felt like...
again, who are you?
I think nobody could hear me. I think they got me.
Just quick
You want to
summary.
reiterate who the guests are?
We have
Mr.
Ann
Turk?
Vandersteel
We do, from Your Voice America.
and Julio Gonzalez.
And Julio Gonzalez is working on tax reform in D.C.
We have a special guest at the halftime.
We're going to have a special guest at halftime, but let's not give everything away.
We just need to keep them.
We have they're great Palm Beach Patriots, but they're also great Washington, D.C. Patriots. I know you're both back and forth and
Love it.
doing a lot of work in D.C. these days, Julio.
It's ongoing, but fortunately, I think we've accomplished a lot.
Can you explain what you do in D.C., Julio, if you don't mind?
All I do really is tax reform. So basically with Tax Reform 1.0, I was working with Congress and Senate in Ways and Means and Senate Finance to get something passed there. Mission accomplished in December 27th.
Yeah.
And now we're on to Tax Reform 2.0. And the reason we're doing that is because tax reform shouldn't be every 30 years. You should be able to do tax reform on an ongoing basis to tweak it and make it better and improve it with the economy. And the economy tells us how we're doing. So far, so great.
So we're going to keep revising. So we have 2.0, then we can have the expectation that at some point there's going to be 3.0 because it's going to be sort of a work in progress. Is that the way the administration's viewing it right now?
I think it should always be that way. That's certainly how President Trump's viewing it, is that we don't have to do it every 3 decades. We can continue to improve it, watch the numbers, see how money's going in Treasury, see how the economy is doing, see how employment's doing, and then take it from there and see if we can't continue to monitor it, fix it if we need to. And isn't that smart? I mean, shouldn't we be doing that all the time?
It makes total sense. I mean, especially now that we've had the boost to the economy and, the numbers are out and, we're looking at these gains of employment and gains in, obviously 1.0 is working because now we're on to 2.0 and now the economy is flourishing. How is it going to affect us as taxpayers in the upcoming year?
Well, it's going to be great because obviously everyone got a huge tax cut. They're getting higher wages. And those two combined with, unemployment going down means even more increased wages. And Tax Reform 2.0 is all about getting the tax cuts down for the middle class as well. So all those things combined, and everything's working, right? Everything's going well.
I think everything's going great. I think we're keeping America great.
Exactly. And we have a tax code that makes sense, at least something that's going to evolve to a much better, easier, quicker ends to a means. So I think what you're doing is amazing, Julio. I appreciate it. And We also have Ann here, so if you would like to explain what you do, it'd be great.
Certainly. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
I work with a great group of people over at Your Voice America. We are a currently online media company, the only really truly conservative MAGA media company out there, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. We are on our website, Your Voice America TV, but we also are on your smart apps right now. So you look us up on Hulu, Roku, Apple, Google Play, etc. And we will soon be coming live to you in a different format, most notably in the television variety. So that's kind of breaking news, but I can't get any more details than that. But it's coming out very shortly. So we're excited to reach to hundreds of millions of more viewers and spread the message of conservative principles, which, you know, having the opportunity to go to D.C. with Julio a number of times and see tax reform in action, I can tell you he's made a huge difference up there. And the only people that aren't liking what he's doing are the Democrats, because he's making them look bad.
Yeah.
Because the principles work. Tax reform works. You trickle it down, and we're seeing it, and our business is taking off. And we're a small business. We're starting out from nothing. So I can tell you tax reform is working.
Well, and I knew Julio pre-tax reform as a professional here in Palm Beach, and just the amazing work that you did on the private side, that now you're actually being able to take that expertise and bring it into more of the public sector with working in D.C. I just think it's incredible, because we've known each other for a number of years.
Yeah, and your company, Engineer Tax Service, is an amazing company. If you want to explain what you do in a concise way, that would be great.
Well, I mean, we just help digest tax reform and the tax law and the tax code at a very high level to make sure that everyone's preserving wealth. And that's key for us. I just want to say, too, though, that can you imagine what life would be like today without tax reform?
No.
I mean, nothing was going anywhere. I mean, we were in a business where the government was our partner, taking over 55%, 60% in some states, 70% in some states. So nothing was growing under that.
No, and when you look at if you look at industry too in America, and the things that have happened for manufacturing and the ways that these people have been able to get back to their employees, I think that's something that's really striking for me. If you read the articles online, the not so fake news, and you see these companies actually giving back to their employees through bonuses, I think that's a really practical way that somebody in the middle class kind of sees a difference that's actively happening, that's affecting them, that's happening in D.C.
But right now, isn't it the first time in history we have more jobs than people to fill those jobs?
Yeah,
correct.
And I don't understand how we can just sit back and not realize or accept we are in a good situation because of what? Is it tax reform? Probably.
It is. I think it is, because when you look at the stock market, it baked in that tax reform was going to go through, and it those prices adjusted accordingly. We saw the market run up, and then it sort of stalled out, and then tax reform came through, and you're seeing it go up again. And I think the economy is pricing into the market tax reform 2.0. But what people don't really realize is when you talk about minimum wage prices, right? It's really, that's not what you need to be considering. You need to be talking about what tax reform is doing for the wages. Because we have more jobs than we have people, now companies are having to pay more wages to find people to fill the jobs.
Right.
So the
people
opportunities,
are competing for salaries again.
That's right.
Make them compete for salaries again.
That's right. But people are, companies are competing to get people. Companies are having to fight other companies to get the best people in the jobs, and they're having to pay more. So you're getting a natural wage increase based on not artificial stuff, but real stuff that's happening. Tax reform is delivering the growth to companies, which is trickling down to the middle class with jobs, and that means their wages are going up. It's really exciting.
Well, and I tend to believe that most of these employers really wanted to give back to their employees and wanted to do a lot of the things that they're doing now with the bonusing and the things that they're able to do through tax reform, but their hands were tied before. And it's now putting those people who are, people who are capitalists, who are contributing to our economy, it's giving them liberation to be able to help those employees. And that really impacts the middle class.
That's right.
Yeah, you can't grow your company or help your employees when 70% of your profits goes to the government.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we know as small business owners too, just how taxing it can be, pardon the pun, but to have, to have your hands kind of be tied by these huge expenses when your revenue isn't matching the expenses and the taxes that you're paying.
Yeah, it's almost like you have someone in your back wallet just taking, here you go, here you go, here you go. And the more you do to earn a living, the more you seem penalized, and that's wrong. To not be rewarded by your labor, but to to be penalized. I think what has gone on with the new current system is we're now being rewarded again for
Right.
investing in our employees, investing in this country. I mean, people forgot to invest in this country. And we're now given reasons to do that. And we are the best country for various reasons. But, you know, one of the things that I would like to look at 10 years from now is any piece of clothing or anything that says made in the USA.
Right.
Yeah.
That brand got a lot stronger with tax reform. I mean, how much money do you expect Julio is going to come back in with 2.0? We saw trillions come in with the first iteration. What are you seeing for 2.0? How much more money is coming in out of the country?
Well, I mean, the estimates are between 10 and 20 trillion.
Incredible.
And that's on
That's
top
huge.
of tax reform 1.0.
Right.
So
I think those
big
numbers
impact.
are just so, you know, you can't imagine those numbers, though. So,
But doesn't that, I mean, that's how President Trump is planning on paying down the debt. We're going to increase our revenue in the Treasury, and we're going to be able to pay this debt down before he leaves office. With that kind of stimulation, it's just incredible.
And
so
I
you
think to
run the
keep it
country like
simple,
a business
too.
is-
Oh, gee, imagine
yeah,
that. Running the
what-
country like a business.
Hey, listen, I voted for Ross Perot. That was the only time I didn't vote Republican.
That's well, and for good reason.
And he was, he's a businessman. I thought,
Right.
well, if we can
I did
stimulate
too.
the economy, well, then we can fix everything. I've wanted a businessman since Ross Perot.
Yeah.
So, everybody knows I'm a big fan
And I
of
won my
POTUS.
wife over by telling her I voted for Perot, too.
You did. We did. We bonded
That
over
was
that.
like the
We did.
melting of your heart right
It's
there.
true.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, because it means you're practical. It means
Yeah.
that it makes sense to you. Because to me, stimulating the economy always made sense because if you have money, then you can help social programs.
Right.
I mean, that's why, I consider myself a capitalist. I think a lot of people do. But even just, mainstream middle class business owner, when you see a difference like that and you see the economy is better for you and your family, you're able to in return be better to your employees and everything else. It puts us in such a better state as a country.
Right.
And this is an example.
Is that the biggest change you've seen since the election, since you do a lot of coverage?
I'm seeing, well, of course, there's the whole deep state thing going down, right? And you saw Peter Strzok got fired today. I mean,
Yeah.
hallelujah. I think a lot of people wanted to see his head on a plate after his
Absolutely.
performance in the hearings
I
a few
did.
weeks back. But,
Oh, my God.
that was big news today. And of course, the other big news today was Omarosa and the tapes, of course, her illegal and
But does that really surprise anybody?
No,
because
I don't-
I
I-
really
I know
have
what
never been a
surprised
fan
me
of hers
is
at
why
all.
she was in the White House at all to begin with. After her,
I have a theory.
her show on The Apprentice the
I
first
think-
time.
I have a theory.
I
Yeah,
think
no,
he
no,
put
wait,
too
wait,
much
wait.
stake in her personally. I think I'm going to say the president was too giving and
I'm
kind of
just
let
curious.
her back
What is your
in.
theory? I'm
Well,
just
I think the
interested.
president first of all, he rewards loyalty. That's a very
Absolutely.
common knowledge. So he rewarded loyalty because she had been, quote, loyal to him. But her loyalty, let's face it, we all knew the people that, the left and the right both saw right through Omarosa as somebody who was a user
Right.
and a social
Completely.
climber. So she got her way into the White House. But, General Kelly was onto her. They were all onto her, and she was doing things that were illegal. And of course, then she records that conversation and has the audacity to publicize it. And she basically hung herself. She is not out of the woods on this. She's facing serious legal problems. But here's the beauty of it all.
But
You
people
Peter
I think
Strzok-
people see through it. I think
Of
people,
course
when
they
they
do.
see that, they're like, here is this person who is given an opportunity by the president, and she betrayed. I mean,
She
just
betrayed because-
But the
outright-
problem is there's a good percentage of our population that are looking to see our president lose. And
Of course
this is
they are.
another
But here's
example
how
of
he's
that.
not going to lose. You now have somebody that was supposedly a Trump person that
Right.
the president brought in betray him. He's able to take his own people and now, put her out to the wolves like raw meat, and she's going to get prosecuted for this. So now you've opened the door to say, well, if you're prosecuting people on your team, you can also prosecute the people that are not on your team, i.e. Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, James Comey, John Brennan, and you go up the food chain. So it actually is a blessing in disguise that this happened at this time in this juncture, so that you can now say, listen, I'm not playing favorites here. I'm not going to protect someone that I thought was my friend. I'm going to treat them all the same. You break the rules. It's a law and order presidency. I'm going to prosecute.
You know what I think is amazing?
And we're going to break in just a minute. Did you know that? Do you see?
There you go.
We're going to break.
I
And
didn't
how
see
can
the
people
dance.
get in touch with you?
You can find me at yourvoiceamerica.tv or at Ann Vandersteel on Twitter.
Awesome. We'll be back in a few minutes.
You hear the music?
Hear the music.
I am Evan Turk, the author of Asset Protection by Design. As a former Wall Street executive, I understand the problems with traditional estate planning that could cost you and your family a fortune. We work in collaboration with financial advisors CPAs, and other professionals. Let us plan for your future while protecting your money today. Whether it's divorce, creditors, or just unnecessary litigation. Once you amass your fortune, no matter how big or small, there will be savvy people trying to profit from your hard work. We live in a litigious society, after all, a culture of entitlement pitted against hardworking families. Don't let your sacrifices be their victory. We're offering a free copy of my book, Asset Protection by Design. Simply log on to our Facebook page at Turk Law Group. We love email too. Our email address is info@palmbeachlawoffices.com. Also, look out for my next book being released this December 10th, titled Divorce Your Spouse, Not Your Assets. Remember, a failure to plan is just merely a plan to fail. We look forward to protecting your hard-earned work.
You've been listening to Turk Radio, the tag team of radio. Don't forget to tag us in social media.
Oh my God.
We are back on the air, guys.
Ridiculous.
We have Ola.
Are we back on? Are you ready? So wait, I don't want to trip you up with her name. You got it?
I got it. She's gonna correct me, but I have it as Ola Hawatme.
Yes, that's right.
You did it right. That's so great. I would have screwed it up. Yay. Ola, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Ola, would you like to explain, first of all, what you do in the community in fashion, but I'm really intrigued by what you're doing in the charity space.
The philanthropy is amazing.
So, as a fashion designer, and I like to give back, I've kind of combined the two. So with my fashion shows that I do, New York Fashion Week, Nashville, LA, Miami, I incorporate either veteran wives or cancer kids or cancer patients, and I put them in my show. The thing with me is it's about confidence.
Yeah.
And I'd rather instill confidence in a female that's lost her husband.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
To have served their country than selling a dress for $1,200.
Right. Of course. It's amazing. I looked at your website. I looked at some of your testimonials and some of your makeover stories. What's the makeover that you did that's like impacted you the most?
A 14-year-old who died of brain cancer. Her aunts, till today, they thank me so much. They say it has impacted her so much. She had no hair. She felt like an outcast. Being judged is, I think, the greatest thing. Like, when you're labeled with the C word.
Right.
You are labeled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I mean, there's a lot of people
look at you like you have deer in the
headlights. They look at you. What's funny is, so I was at a bowling alley, and this waitress came up to me, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I used to have such gorgeous hair like yours until I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer." As soon as she said that to me, the look of pity, like I felt pity for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the next week, guess who was diagnosed?
Wow.
So I never told. I ran for, I was Miss St. Louis, ran for Miss America, and I never told the judges or anyone. And I kind of...
So you were competing, and I didn't know this. You know, I'm a former Mrs. Florida. I actually didn't know this about you. I'm glad we're talking about this. You were actually competing in the pageant when you were diagnosed?
And I never told anyone because I did not want to be looked at with pity.
Right. Yes. Wow.
So instead, I took on cancer kids and put them in my shows. And did these shows, and people were like, "Why are you doing this?" Well, because I want to. Never gave reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
After my recent cancer diagnosis with breast cancer, I said, "Okay, God." It was funny because last year I was praying about this. You gave me this platform. What am I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
How am I supposed to serve you? And how am I supposed to make a difference?
Right.
And then I get diagnosed. And then I'm like, okay. So that's when I decided to reach out to different organizations and bring on cancer survivors. And I have so far about 32, and I'm doing the fittings on them. I'm creating gowns for them, and I'm putting them in the first annual Survivor Fashion Week that I'm hoping to do twice a year during New York Fashion Week.
And
no,
is this
actually-
coming up at this Fashion Week?
Well,
Yeah,
Oh,
she'll be
well,
in
then
New
we
York.
really, I'm going to be in New York.
Yes.
I'm at Fashion Week every week. It's my birthday.
Oh, well, then you have
So,
to
There you
come to
go.
my
yeah.
fashion show.
Oh, yeah. No, without a
Absolutely.
doubt. Yeah, we're going to do something fun at Fashion Week. You hear that, everybody? Yeah, for sure. That's amazing.
So I'll be doing New York Fashion Week and then Survivor Fashion Week a couple weeks after my show because October is Breast Cancer Awareness.
Well, you think about the huge numbers, just how how big the numbers are of people that are impacted by cancer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty much everybody.
Everybody.
Either
Yeah,
you're
it is.
somebody who's diagnosed. What is it? 1 in 3? Does anybody know what the statistic is?
Let's
I think
not
it's
look
only
at
1 in
the
3.
Well,
statistic. It's too.
It's a huge
Yeah.
number.
One in first it was 1 in 7, and now I think you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you're right, and they can't find. I mean, if you're stage 0, 1, that's fine.
Right.
2, 3, and 4, the survivor rate all of a sudden become like almost.
Yeah, less than 5%.
You
Well,
know?
and now, thankfully, they've actually put in a lot of these rare diseases are now classified as cancers the last few years because before some of these rare diseases weren't getting the funding that cancer was getting.
That's
they
right.
actually are
Yeah.
cancer-like conditions. So I think that's what's up the number from,
Yeah,
whatever it was,
personal
1 to 7.
experience with that,
I did. My daughter had now what would be considered a form of cancer, but at that time was a rare disease. And the kids, it's 1 out of 200,000 kids that's affected, but there's no federal funding for that, especially because it wasn't classified as a cancer. So the only way that they were able to raise funds for the disease that my daughter had was through the Texas Children's Hospital and
Oh,
a doctor
great
who
place.
made that his mission
Yeah.
and had a child that had been diagnosed or a personal story. I don't remember exactly what it was. And private donations and people getting involved and wanting to make a difference. So what you're doing is truly impactful. How can our guests get in touch with you?
olastyle.net, www.olastyle.net, and they can send me an email. I never say no to anyone.
Who are you going to be having in this Fashion Week show in New York? Do you already have survivors picked
Yes,
out?
I do. I do
Okay.
have breast cancer survivors, and what's funny is I've been having a few trickle in every week, and I never say no. I'm like, okay, what's your size? What's your height? Mm-hmm. And
That's so
it's going to be
beautiful.
1 week of them feeling like models, feeling empowered. You
Yeah.
know, these women that are going through chemo, and that when you have,
Ports and
everything that goes through it, the chemo, the radiation, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate enough to not have gone through either one. However, their confidence level, they feel less of a human, less
Right.
of a female. So to be given the opportunity to make them feel like a model
Yeah.
for a week,
But that has
That's
a
incredible.
permanent impact on their ego.
yeah, that
and
to
their,
me,
not
that to
their
me
ego,
is
but
like
their-
you're like, oh well, what do you make? What am I making? Are you kidding me? I'm making a difference in these women's lives.
Right.
You know.
But what I think is,
And this just
it's-
came from personal experience. This was just something that you felt like you needed to do. It was a calling for you.
I feel, yeah, I definitely do. I definitely do.
And what I commend you for is finding something that you're good at, and now finding a charitable cause to tie it with. And that's what we do at Turk Law Group. And not to, I just plugged myself, I guess, but
You did. You did. It's
it was
okay.
an unintentional plug. But we deal with a lot of veterans, and where we give back is to veteran groups and causes. That's really
Yeah.
what touches me. And with my wife, she has her own charities as well, besides our conservative movement charities.
Yeah, but I mean, once you're affected by something, I think, a lot of people learn from that
course.
experience. I mean, I know you've had a personal experience
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with melanoma. They thought had spread to my lymph nodes, which then took me on a quest to MD Anderson, where they found I had stage 3B thyroid cancer that had metastasized everywhere in my left neck. I had a full left neck dissection.
Wow.
And then they found a tumor in my head. All in 3 months. It was like boom, boom, boom. So I know what it's like to feel like you're up against it and you don't know if you're going to make it. But that was 13 years ago, and I've never
13
looked
years.
back. Never
That's
looked
amazing.
back.
But if you have
That's
a reason
amazing.
to be positive every
100%.
day, and things to look forward to,
You have
and
to.
Well, the highlight of I did this article about kind of opening up and coming out. Not coming out of the closet, coming out.
Where are we going with this?
Oh, wow.
So the highlight was I had one of my clients. I work with different celebrities who's he hates Trump, but of course I love. So I'm like, I had him retweet Ron Perlman.
That's great.
One day he's tweeting about 2020, and then the next day he's tweeting, oh, Ola Hawatma, share this article. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can you share this too? And I throw something at him.
And I love that philanthropy is something that brings people together
Yeah.
from all
Yes.
sides of the aisle. I mean, it
It
doesn't
really
really
does.
matter what your political affiliation
It's so
is.
funny
Philanthropy is
'cause,
the
yeah.
message that you can speak to anybody on any side. And if
Absolutely.
they don't get philanthropy, then I want nothing to do with that.
No, but what's
right.
great is my wife has a lot
That's
of
so
haters.
true.
Well, it's no surprise, but if they don't agree with a conservative viewpoint, they really
hate
tend
you
to
and
be
label
low.
you. And
But there are some people, I commend them. They may not agree with her at all on the political spectrum, but when they see her and it has a charity involvement,
Right.
they're like that.
I think it
friend.
humanizes people
Yeah.
too. I think
Yeah.
it's something that we do need to talk more about. I mean, I know you kind of plugged yourself, but I think it humanizes people when you realize that they're involved in philanthropic ventures. You know, no matter what it is. If I found somebody who was completely on the left and completely crazy, and I thought this person's just insane, but
Wait,
then
wait,
I
wait,
found
let
out
me
that they
ask
were
you.
doing something for kids with cancer, I would probably have a totally different viewpoint on that person as a human being.
Why are they crazy?
Well, I mean, their viewpoints might be a little crazy.
Okay.
You know how I feel. You know
But
how
cancer
this
doesn't
isn't a
discriminate,
surprise.
right? Cancer
doesn't discriminate.
It does not
Just like you're saying,
discriminate.
celebrities. I mean, it's something that happens to the middle class. It's something that happens to low income. It's something that
That's
happens
right.
to Republicans, to Democrats. It's something that affects all of us. So that should be really the focus on philanthropy. Should be something that shouldn't come into politics. It should be a bipartisan issue.
Absolutely should
Oh,
be
I
a bipartisan
completely agree
issue.
with you.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
It goes in line with healthcare. It should be a bipartisan issue.
Absolutely.
I think we only have two things we could agree on that's bipartisan. Do you know what the other one is?
Philanthropy and
First episode. You saw it. You were involved in it.
the first episode.
That we were together.
Oh, I feel like I should like rap. Isn't that like a rap song? The first episode is like Dr. Dre.
Maybe Dr. Dreidel, but
So, no, I'm wrong. Okay,
No, cannabis law.
cannabis law. That is something else. That's
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's kind of a health issue too.
Yeah.
And Ann brought that up.
We have
So,
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
So
2 minutes.
where are we going after this?
We are going. You're going to tell everybody where we're going.
We're going to the Kennel Club.
We're going
Oh,
to the
my
Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Palm Beach
There's a
Kennel
dog
Club.
track. You guys will enjoy
But there
that.
aren't going to be
no dogs running.
no greyhounds today.
No greyhounds.
There are
Instead,
not. There are
there
not
are
any
gonna
dogs
be-
running.
We have red hounds there.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never been there.
So
until
actually,
today.
Red,
the
as in they're
the
MAGA.
Club 45
Oh.
PBC MAGA
I was gonna
Club,
say.
the Trump Club Palm Beach. It's the first ever Palm Beach County Trump Club meeting. It says bring friends. It's a free event. They're having Ron DeSantis, Ashley Moody, Andrew Palick, and Mike McAllister are all going to be speaking. So 4 great speakers, and it says bring your
Karen
friends.
Turk.
So 7 o'clock, we'll be there.
I think we have 30 seconds, so why don't you rap?
I could rap, but
I'll beatbox.
Yeah.
there you go.
It'll be the first.
Wiki. That's great. We got a multi-talented group. So again, shout out your Instagram or your other social media.
Social media for Facebook and Twitter is at Ann Vandersteel, and yourvoiceamerica.tv, where you can tune in for great conservative content.
Awesome. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening to Turk Radio, the no-nonsense tag team news source for keeping America great. We'll see you next week.